gather round, the curtains rising high. It's real talk time, and we'll tell you why. From old-time flicks to the silver screen, we've got the stories and the in-between. But out of real talk, it's the place to be for movie magic and history.
Feels good to be back.
It does feel good to be back. I feel like we had a very strong episode last week.
Yes, we did.
Solid guest.
Lots of movie recommendations from looking at it.
Yeah.
Wow. I was like going back and I'm like writing them all down and putting them in my my letterbox on what to watch next.
It's a long list now.
It's a long list now. All the things I haven't seen, or I'm like, oh, I have to go back and watch that and see it again. And then, like, I was scrolling through Netflix. I saw Midnight in Paris pop up. That was one of the ones we talked about.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I forgot to add that one on my list as something to rewatch.
It was nice because the way that the YouTube algorithm and, like, the AI works, if you go, this is a little tidbit for all you guys as well, but if you go into the YouTube video, or like the YouTube version of it, it gave the recommendations like that we talked about, and then the actors and stuff that we mentioned too.
Oh.
So it like puts them as a reference in the bottom, like in the description as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so wild.
Which is so helpful. So if people are like trying to find specific things, like it obviously didn't pick up everything, but it had like 35 or something actors that we talked about. I'm like, I didn't realize we talked about that many people.
Go off, YouTube.
But it was great because it worked well, and then now people can actually find it.
That's great. And especially if like you don't know if it's like a stranger name or a weird naming convention or something like that, it's helpful to have Google analyzing that video and making sure you're all taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, they analyze it anyway for like the copyright stuff. So I mean, it's going to scrub through, find those keywords, and then...
Are they doing anything that we don't like?
Yeah.
Oh, they're fine.
Oh, yeah. Just getting TikTok banned. All that stuff. And they got unbanned already today.
So,
they were
do you know why?
For like 12 hours.
Yeah, which everybody went crazy about. But do you know why they got unbanned?
No, they just put it back on. Like, it still hasn't been, like, banned, unbanned. It hasn't officially gone into place. It's whatever has already happened has happened by the time this episode's gone out. We're talking about this on the Sunday that it's like happening. But as of right this second, they just temporarily took it down because they didn't feel like there was going to be a resolution that favored them. So essentially they were taking it down until Trump got into office. But now, by the time you've seen this, the inauguration's already happened. I mean, it doesn't affect us in Canada necessarily, but it's back up. They just took it down to like kind of put a middle finger up. Is what my impression was.
We can.
Your app doesn't work because people were getting that like pop up, which I thought was cool. I was like, we didn't get it. Our stuff still shows up.
Yeah. Then the memes that everybody was posting, like Instagram Reel users fighting off the TikTokers when they come back to
with the other Chinese app. That's like people are learning Chinese to go to the other app. And then like the CEO of that app was like, hey, well, if you've migrated over here from TikTok, welcome. And just start speaking in full Mandarin.
Oh, God.
Like, this is good.
Welcome.
Amongst all of that, welcome to episode 8.
Episode 8.
Of the Real Talk podcast. We are a few episodes remaining until even Spotify recognizes us as an official podcast. Because it's like they have a threshold for some of the monetization settings, it's like 12 episodes minimum. So we're almost at 12 episodes.
Almost at 12 episodes.
This goes to show you never give up.
Never give up. Never what? Never surrender.
So by the end of February, we'll be at 12 episodes. Just sounds, mid-February. We had 12 episodes.
That's wild.
Crazy.
That is wild.
So
lots of work.
12 weeks of episodes, which is just nuts.
Like goes to show you guys, you can do whatever you set your mind to, even sit on a couch and talk about movies.
Yeah, and that's honestly the most fun thing sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Talking to fun people. We've got a very fun person coming on next week. I'm excited.
And the if you guys haven't already, sign up for our little come on the podcast survey.
Absolutely.
Because I am starting to get quite the amount of people interested in coming on.
Are you?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah?
And it's so funny too, because people would be like, Nathan, why don't I know about this? And just send me a photo of like the little podcast poster that we have on our pages.
Yeah.
And like, they'll be like, why don't I know about this? And I was like, I'm pretty sure I've talked about it with you.
Yeah.
And they're like, I just didn't realize you were actually like doing it and like, it looks good and everything. And they're like, when can I get on? And I was like, well, I'll have to add you to the list.
we have a pretty long
There's a
list.
list. Yeah. So I know a couple of you guys have asked me, and we'll get you all on. Don't you worry.
At some point.
Even you camera shy people, you guys can come on too.
We gotta vet you first. We gotta make sure that you're not gonna
terrorize
the studio. You have to be chill enough to have tacos with us afterwards.
Yes.
If you can't pass the taco test.
Yeah, the taco test. That's a staple of our show now, the taco test.
Yeah. If we could sit with you and have a taco and a
taco.
churro, we're good.
And it all depends on your taco order too.
If you order Brussels sprouts, you're not allowed to come.
You're not allowed to come. And if you say the word birria wrong, you're also not allowed to come.
I say it wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm getting the death stare for that one. I definitely say it wrong. I'm going to butcher that when we go to the place afterwards. I'll be reading off the menu. I'm just getting a like side eye.
But you know what though? That's the thing. You have to, if you know you're not going to say it right, you have to commit to saying it poorly, because then, like in a Mexican restaurant case, they'll just be like, gringos.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But if you try and say it right and fuck up, then they're going to be like, ooh. So you got to really say it bad, like quesadilla. Or like jalapeno.
Jalapeno.
Can I get a Dorito?
Yeah, no, it's a jorito.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
Not many people know that. The only reason I learned was from Omar, because we used to sell them. So that's the only reason that I know.
Right, and Omar grew up in South America.
Yeah. Well, he lived in Mexico City for a while.
That's crazy.
Which is like, but he's lived in so many places. So he was a great guest to have on.
Yeah, he was
glad
great.
We got
His
a chance
movie
to sit
knowledge is
down.
wild. And I hope you guys can all check out Wayside Comics.
Yeah.
Especially on Saturdays. Their Bad Movie Day.
Bad Movie Day. They try to, they do that Bad Movie Day in the evenings and stuff. But they have their like creator spotlight every Saturday. So they'll bring in, like they've done almost mini Comic-Cons, I want to call them, on Saturdays. But they did like a really big comic book festival the end of November as well. I think they're going to almost trying to do at least one or two this year again.
Oh, that's great.
So that would be cool to like, I'm sure he would let us if we like got to set up a booth just to like do on-site podcast.
Oh, that would be super cool.
That would be fun.
We sit on there, we talk about, so they make their own comics.
Yeah, so a lot of the artists are like their own, they're just like the actual comic book artists. And then Omar and then Jason have the, Jordan, what am I saying? Jordan have the publishing company as well.
Nice.
So they have a publishing company that they do some comics, like some of the comics that they work with, they are now in publishing deals and stuff with them. And so
we'll have the podcast, and then we'll listen.
comic.
We'll have them. we'll listen. Well, we should make our own comic.
Yeah, that would be
But then we'll listen to them. We'll hear their story.
Yeah.
We'll hear what they're saying and everything, and we'll be like, oh, this kind of sounds good. And we'll shuffle them along the table to the sales part, where they sign the sales contract, and then we make a film out of it.
there we go.
Yeah.
Out of their comic book, we get exclusive rights.
Yeah.
No, you know what? You know what would be a cool adaptation of that would be, like obviously the signing rights and stuff, but having a way to work it out with those people that it's like a series of like short films.
Oh, kind of like Love, Death, Robots, or like what's the new one that they're doing with video games on Prime?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's a series, but it's a lot of short stories.
But I think that would be kind of fun that like that would just elevate both our vision of like what we could put together, but also their creativity and kind of show that very well on a bigger screen.
Yeah.
You know, and do it justice, because you'd want to work with them directly. That's like, we're all in this just to have fun.
It's true.
Because if they're going to go to like a big company, like say Netflix buys the idea because they like one of the series or something. Like, they just, as good as it is sometimes it kills the whole creative vision because there's too many hands on it. It's too much money almost. Like, it gets overdone.
And speaking of overdone and too many cooks in the kitchen and everything, the new studio thing, hot take, not even a hot take. This is just what I've heard from all this, all the series and films that are getting funded right now by the studios. Their new thing that the executives want is they want exposition in the actual scene. So they'll be like the executives will be on the site and they'll be like, you know what? Most people are watching this in the background, like while they do something in the house, like laundry or something, and we want them to know what's going on. So could you like have them go and talk to the director? Could you have them tell us what they're doing in the scene?
Oh no!
And I think that's just funny. The whole point of cinema is to show, not tell. And yet we have studio executives saying, let's tell them everything.
Basically, like, closed caption what you're...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
You know, I walked to this chair, and I thought this chair didn't look right, so I dusted it a bit. And, you know, then my husband came in, and my husband was saying this and that and the other. I didn't listen to him, of course.
There's only, like, a handful of situations where that actually works.
Like in an old noir film.
Or House of Cards. Like,
yeah.
Like, but it only works when it's like properly done, breaking the fourth wall. It's a rare occurrence, I want to say, because it has to be so well executed. If it's not well executed, then it's garbage.
And side note, Matt, the show we were talking about that we couldn't think of the name is House of Cards.
Was it? When?
I was at a lunch the other day, and we were talking about this show. We were talking about with Kevin Spacey, and we just couldn't think of the name. And I said, "Isn't it House something?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "House something? No, it's not." And then we continued. We were like, "Oh, eventually it'll come." And our whole thing was we didn't want to look it up because that would be cheating. But it'll come to us. And now that I'm sitting here, I go, "It was House. It was House of Cards." And that's where the Netflix intro came from. You know the ba-bum? It's him with his ring on the desk, punching.
Is it?
That's the Netflix sound.
Whoa. Just mind blown completely. I had no idea that's like how they... I guess they... I don't remember that sound before that show.
Yeah. It's literally him going...
That's so weird.
Yeah.
I gotta rewatch that show again. What was it? How many seasons was it before it got canceled?
Oh, it wasn't too many, was it?
It was like 3, maybe?
I think it was 3 or 4, yeah.
It was a good show. That was a good show.
It was great. I see clips of it every so often.
I've seen a bunch of clips recently.
Very much so.
I love how sinister he is when he's speaking to the camera. And it's like, it's so twisted because you understand, like, maybe this is exactly what politics is like, which I think is just the crazier part of what's been kind of shown in the last 8 years, really. Mm-hmm. But it kind of, it's cool, the perspectives that they give and the way that they've used the cinematography to, like, there's this one shot where obviously he's not president yet, but he's talking to the camera and he's like...
In the crowd?
No. He's beside the president. And he's like, well, I used to be completely out of frame. Now I'm 3 steps to center. And he's like, and then as he says 3 steps to center, it cuts to the president mid-frame and him just off center. And you're like,
oh,
like chills.
Yeah, no, that show is amazing.
It's a very good show. Yeah.
Go check it out.
Yeah, you definitely, if you haven't had a chance to see House of Cards, a lot of controversy about Kevin Spacey, so maybe not.
There's another case where it's like, can you separate the art from the artist?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Today we were planning on talking about kind of the unified list, let's call it, of greatest directors of all time.
Woo.
I mean, there's a pretty deep list. I mean, even if you just look around the room, like the cinema that we're in right now, you look and you can see, like, most of those people on at least some of the posters and stuff that we have going around. Like Woody Allen's a good example. Like George Lucas, James Cameron,
Spielberg,
yeah,
Nolan.
So much stuff.
Yeah,
there's so many amazing directors. I think it's kind of, there's so many different ways to look at like what would be the best directors of all time. Like obviously you've got your favorites and stuff. Like
Yep.
I definitely have a few favorites and kind of get to that after, but there's the tough part is cinema can be so diverse in terms of like how the directors like to do their movies. Mm-hmm. And so they're never, I would say like the best directors are like never similar in the way that they do their films. Maybe that's like the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Because they have their own unique style that just allows them to stand out regardless of the type of movie that they're doing.
And it all is interesting because when you actually trace all these really incredible directors through time, you realize that one generation influences the next generation.
Yeah.
And the next generation builds on the past two generations to build a cinematic dialogue that's even more complex than previous.
Yeah.
And it all builds together and really elevates not just the film that you're watching, but the stories that are unraveling in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's been really, really interesting over the past 100 years, really, of cinema, is just how complex and how incredible this visual narrative you're watching unfold on screen happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think like there's essentially like an IMDb list of how like the 25 best.
25 best.
There's 25. Like we don't have to go 25. I feel like we can kind of go at least top 10, and we can talk about some of their movies that allow them to like stand out amongst the rest.
Yep.
But, I'm curious if there's anybody like in this list that are notable mentions that.
I'm sure.
Wow, that's a low. That's low. I wasn't expecting him to be that low. I think part of it is like they're basing it off of awards and nominations.
Right.
So I feel like we could definitely kind of challenge this because number 25 is Christopher Nolan.
Well,
I know it's tough.
Well, over the past 100 years,
I know.
Would you call Nolan the best director? I think he's a very impactful director. I don't know if he's the most. It really depends on the metrics.
Yeah.
Because in terms of popularity and ability to create something incredible on screen, well, Nolan's a really good bet. I mean, you could see it from all his films, and then his most recent film that isn't even made yet, Odyssey, where they've essentially given him a blank check to do whatever. And I mean, I don't know how those actors are going to deal with real monsters, but
I know
we'll definitely.
It's going to be impressive.
Yeah, we'll
bringing out the longest sponsor for the film. They're going to Scotland.
Scotland, gonna go find Nessie. Yeah, it's.
I'm just surprised he's at 25. That's all. Like I'm not expecting him to be like top 3.
No. You just expect him to be like pushed down to like.
I was expecting at least like. To be honest with you, I was expecting top 10.
Yeah.
Based on like especially more recent accolades, but this is a deep list.
Yeah. Well, and it's especially a big thing to talk about too, as we're talking about best directors, is also the impact that directors have on you as an individual. Yeah. Because Nolan like has an impact on us. Yeah. But you talk to anybody else, they're like, well, Nolan's
older
good.
Generation, like they wouldn't be as impacted because you think back and you go, like if I asked my grandparents who are really both in their 90s, like they probably actually don't even know who it is. Right. But if I were to ask them, okay, what do you think the impact of like Charlie Chaplin was back in the day? They're gonna, or even if I say like Stanley Kubrick and
or
like
Hitchcock.
Exactly. You go, okay, what was the impact back then? It's interesting because like we can look at this list in 50 years and go, okay, no, this should have been shuffled. Yeah. Based on what we've now seen in 50 years, probably most of those directors and stuff passing as well. Mm-hmm. It would be like an interesting list to kind of revisit and go, oh, okay.
Oh, this is where we're.
Yeah, this is where we're still at. They didn't hold like we thought it was going to, or like Christopher Nolan ended up being like top 10 of all time because he did another 5 films that were epics that really were
showed his talent, his skill.
like so moving on another level that it blew everybody away.
Yeah.
So Christopher Nolan at 25, David Fincher at 24 too. Again, like I feel like that's a hot take.
Well, I think it's because Fincher's so almost like it's so polarizing in his way, and I think that you either love that as an audience member or you don't like that as an audience member.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of people with mixed reviews on how they think of Fincher.
Again, it's like I thought Christopher Nolan would be higher than Fincher as well.
But you could argue that Fincher's more impactful than Nolan, at least in terms of an audience perspective. Because another thing too, like I had way back in school, I had a directing teacher, and he was French, and he always talked about all these big cinematic masterpieces. Like, yeah, they're impressive, but they're not the key stories that are like are your good foods, your salads, your whole proteins. Like it's not that, it's candy.
Yeah.
All these big cinematics. Like he said the Marvel universe. The Marvel universe is just candy.
Yeah.
It's good. That's once true. In a while.
Yeah.
You should watch that. But in terms of a narrative dialogue, like an understanding of a cinematic world, it's not really the kind of stuff that you should be consuming because it's not very impactful on the deeper level of story that and narrative and cinema that these other films and other directors create.
Yep.
And I think that's probably why Nolan is a little less.
Yeah, that makes sense
in the space.
Yeah, I can understand that. I guess if we kind of like crawl up the list, we kind of look back and you reflect and go, okay, yeah, like it actually makes more sense why they are situated accordingly.
Yes.
And it's not just based on awards. It's not just based on the accolades. It's like impact is really, the biggest thing.
Yes. Maybe. Yes. Impact to cinema, impact to the world, impact to audiences.
Yeah. And like generational impact, not just like
that's a big one.
2000s impact.
Yeah.
Like, because that's now, if you look at it, some of these directors were like just crushing box offices and stuff for 60, 70 years within the 90s that like we never really got to experience. And so it's hard to put in perspective of like what those numbers would have looked like or what that impact would have been because you're not there.
Yeah.
And it was nice to like Omar to give us a little bit of insight as to how those kind of felt along the way. But yeah, we see it from like the outside looking in essentially to that generation of films.
Yes.
Whereas when we get to experience the films and stuff that get released in the 2010s, the 2020s, and like moving forward, we experience it in real time and then we can like factor it on a scale like that.
Yeah.
So 23 is Ridley Scott.
Yep.
Which I think is good. Again, maybe a couple spots above. But again, has done so many great films. He's actually older than I thought as well.
How old is Ridley Scott?
He'd have to be 88.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's 1937. So,
damn.
Yeah, he's old.
Yeah. I thought 70s for whatever reason, but maybe that was because I was watching an interview with him when he was 70-something.
But was he saying that the new Gladiator film was his final film?
Yeah, or one of them.
Yeah.
And I think I remember watching something about how he really enjoyed doing it, and it was a beautiful transportation back to his mindset when he was doing the first Gladiator.
Yeah.
But this was going to be his last, unless something sparked his interest, I think he was saying.
But he's
going to EP now.
Again, he's 88, and you go, wow, like, what do we do?
Right, yeah.
Another one, I didn't realize, wow, I didn't realize he had a list like this. Holy shit. Danny Boyle.
Yeah?
I didn't realize it was that. I'm just looking at, like, I wasn't even paying attention to some of, like, you watch these films, but I didn't even realize that, like, he did all these films.
Yeah.
So he's done 28 Days Later, 127 Hours, Trainspotting, T2 Trainspotting, and then Slumdog Millionaire, which
Danny Boyle,
how many awards did that win?
Yeah.
The Beach, yesterday. Did you see yesterday? It was the thing where it's like everybody forgot who the Beatles were.
Yes.
Great film. That was a fun film.
Yeah, that was great.
And then Steve Jobs as well.
Wow.
That's a heater of a list. Again, only at 22 as well.
Wow.
But that's a deep list.
Well, that's the kind of the interesting thing, right? You have like these almost celebrity directors.
Yeah.
Who everybody knows their name. Everybody's like, oh, the vision behind.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the marketing approach.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Danny Boyle, all those films are such films. Like each one is such an independent film. And so you get this marketing perspective where it's like, oh, Spielberg gets marketed as Spielberg, Scorsese marketed as Scorsese. And you get Danny Boyle, who is marketed, but not like his films are more representative of him rather than himself being that celebrity aspect, which is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to double check and see if he's doing. He is. He's doing 28 Years Later as well.
Oof.
So
but he didn't do the second one. He didn't do 28 Weeks Later.
It doesn't seem like it actually. No, I don't.
Oh, interesting.
I just see 28 Days Later and then now 28 Years Later.
Wow.
So he didn't get the second film, which is interesting, but I guess it happens, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the second one.
Just above him is Quentin.
Okay.
So Quentin at 21. Mm-hmm. He's got one movie left, and then he's done anyway.
Good.
So 9 films. Just an amazing repertoire of like filmography. If you haven't seen like Reservoir Dogs, if you haven't seen The Hateful Eight, like there's so many. Django's such a good film.
Kill Bill.
What am I just missed the obvious one. Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
I just missed like maybe the biggest hitter of all time. That's a crazy.
What's the one with the intro with the Nazi who drinks milk?
Oh, it's the same guy.
Inglourious Bastards?
No. We did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What am I missing?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, of course.
I just want to,
Yeah, it's Inglourious Bastards, right?
It must be,
I think it's that one.
Curdled?
Yes. No.
He's done a bunch. He's got a few upcoming stuff.
He's doing a series?
Yeah, he's doing a comic book series as well, Django and Zorro.
Dude, cool.
And he's doing Bounty Law.
Okay.
That's a TV series that's in pre-production.
Yeah.
So he did The Hateful Eight. It's 2 versions, 3 versions. Inglourious Bastards, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill, both of the Kill Bills.
Yep.
From Dusk Till Dawn, 4 Rooms, Natural Born Killers, Pulp Fiction, True Romance, and My Best Friend's Birthday, which I guess he just did the first one. Mm-hmm. It's also funny when I look back and I go,
did he do Death Proof?
Ooh, I just scrolled off of it. Yeah.
I remember that.
Written by him.
That was one of my first tastes of Tarantino.
You know what's interesting? I always forget when I watch it back, and I've seen Pulp Fiction again recently. He's in the film.
Yeah.
He's the guy that they drop the car off to. And they clean the car in his garage.
Yeah, he likes to put himself in these films.
Yeah, no, this is. I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what he finishes off with. He's got a podcast as well now. So he went on Joe Rogan with. Oh, jeez, who was it? I'm blanking on the guys. I feel bad. It was called The Gala Show. But he's on there with, Roger Avery. Another heavy hitter.
What's the interview that Tarantino had where they're asking him why he has so much blood in his movies? And he's like, because it's so much fun, or something like that.
I haven't seen that. No.
It's so funny. It's such a funny interview.
But yeah, they have a podcast and stuff that they're doing now. And I'm
that's
like,
great.
Maybe the 2 biggest movie buffs of all time.
Oh,
and
easily.
The biggest movie nerds, like him, just on Joe's podcast, and I was listening. I'm like, I know fucking nothing.
Yeah, he's
They're insane. Like the depth of the knowledge that they have for films, and they also like playing it on VCR and stuff. Like they're playing it like old school, or they're playing
As
like
intended.
actual film.
As
Like,
intended.
that's so fun.
Yeah, I've seeing Tarantino talk is just
Yeah.
incredible with the amount of film knowledge he has
Yeah.
and just understanding, and like to have all his references be like, oh well, I did this because in this film this, and I really like the way it made me feel, so I interpreted that and took this inspiration
Yeah.
from here and it's like, oh my god.
It's incredibly impressive. And then we have Roman Polanski,
Okay.
another like there's just so many great directors. I'm trying to like for Chinatown, the Ghostwriter, Rosemary's Baby. He's been doing it a long time, like a very, very long time.
Champion.
Oliver Twist. Oh, he did The Pianist.
That's where I knew his name from.
Yeah. And then we have 19, which is Tim Burton.
Okay.
Another great,
Surprised me,
Edward
yeah.
Scissorhands. Like so many of those Burton films are. There's again another completely unique style that just nobody has ever really done except
And he
for
just
him.
commits to it. He's like, this is the way that I see the world, and this is how I'm going to tell it.
Yeah.
That's another
The
beautiful thing about
Beetlejuice films, Corpse
Yeah.
Bride, like such a good job.
this. Yeah, I've always loved to look at directing in the sense that you see the world in such a specific way, and you could never give your eyes to somebody and have them see the world in that way.
Yeah.
So the ability to take what you see, interpret it, and then have it put on screen for everybody to observe
Yeah.
is kind of an insane premise.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful that like Tim Burton is a huge example of.
Yeah.
I remember watching an interview, him and Guillermo del Toro.
Yep. Yeah,
They're both people who directors who see the world in such a specific way and
Yeah.
have such a unique interpretation of it, and then have taken that and taken how they've seen life and how they've experienced life and put it on screen for everybody to be like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is such a different viewpoint from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And that's really something special.
It's beautiful. I mean, like they do such a good job, but it's also interesting how I think the fun thing about movies is we can see it either exactly the same way or completely different.
Yep.
Like we could be sitting down next to each other watching the exact same movie at the same time. Like we're focused, we're paying attention, and we can also just look at it completely different.
Yep.
Which is so fun because it just every director is going to handle that differently. And I mean, at the end of the day, you want people to come out and enjoy your films, but sometimes it just people are not going to resonate it, and other people are now going to be like diehards of like the stuff that you do.
Yep.
And it just, as we talked about, like Walter Mitty kind of hitting you on like that primal level. Some films or some actions and the way that directors handle their films will just hit you in a certain way that just you don't even understand why it feels that way, but it resonates so deeply.
Right, because you are the target audience.
Yeah.
You are the demographic that's really been funneled into that film. I mean, Baby Girl is a current present day example of a film that most recently some people walked away. Like I know I walked away from being like, whoa, what did I just watch?
Yeah.
But then you have other people who walked away and were like, wow, what a powerful film.
Yeah.
Like Nicole Kidman's performance, this,
Yeah.
that, the other, I can completely resonate. And it's so interesting to see those differentials.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely it as well, because I think the people will always look at and appreciate movies in different ways, just because what's one person's like one person's gonna love it and one person's just not gonna
gonna
enjoy
get
it as
it,
much.
not gonna like it, hate it, maybe.
They're gonna sit through it and go, it wasn't worth it. didn't like it.
Exactly.
We could walk out and go, oh my God, that's the best film I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's interesting because then it gets into how films are comparable to products, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have people who are going to love them, who are going to hate them, and really it all depends on what you're looking for when you go to a film. And it really depends on your mind state. It really depends on how you're feeling, how your day went.
Yep.
And sometimes people want to sit down and they want to watch a comedy movie. Sometimes they sit down, they want to watch a romance movie.
Yep.
And it really depends on who they are, how they're feeling, and really what they want and what their core of what they want to get out of a film is.
Yeah.
And that all those three things come together to really make, is this film going to be impactful for them, and is this film not going to be impactful?
Yeah.
Now the really wild films are the ones that no matter how you're feeling, no matter what you're wanting from a film, it delivers in such a way that it manipulates those emotions and gets you into the perfect mental state in order to enjoy the film in the right way. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones where you go, okay, someone cooked here.
Yeah. I'm going to bank that. I've got a good movie to always watch.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening is like so much replay value in so many different films because you're like, this is a safe film. Mm-hmm. I know it's going to make
I know it's going to happen. I know that I can, at 39 minutes, this is going to happen. I know that I better be asleep by this time or better not be asleep by this time because this happens. Or
Exactly. So there's so many different films on so many different levels that do that. But
yeah.
That's why there's masterful directors that we lean on to create those films.
Exactly.
Number 18 will come in with another heavy hitter from years of like us studying in drama class and stuff too, is Charlie Chaplin.
Okay.
It just...
Champ.
I saw clips of this afterwards because they're talking about like kind of notable films and The Great Dictator because he played Hitler in a movie, which I find so funny. I mean, he looked enough like him that it kind of worked.
Yeah, which is the common joke.
But yeah, he did so many films, like so many films. He wrote 89 films. Like just alone, he wrote 89.
He was a machine.
Incredible. He was doing 8-9 films a year.
And also the time that he was in, the studios owned him.
Yeah.
He'd sign a contract and it'd be like, you're doing 9 films and that's how that's going to be. And that was back when the studios had owned everything.
He's been an actor in 93 films.
Wow.
That's a crazy list.
Wow.
Yeah, writer, actor, director, everything. And then you have 17, you have Sidney Lumet. Mm-hmm. 12 Angry Men. He did Murder on the Orient Express.
Love that film.
What am I missing that I feel like I just saw a clip of, oh no, I was like, they're showing an ad for something. I was like, what movie did he do with Joaquin Phoenix? Interesting. I'm looking at like as I'm looking through it as well. A lot of his movie posters and stuff look very similar style.
Yeah.
But he's directed 74 films. Between films and television and stuff, 74, which is
insanity.
That's an insane amount as well. Good TV shows and stuff. He did Playhouse 90. Omnibus did well. Like these are old. Like 12 Angry Men is his most esteemed. Not so far, but his most esteemed ever. But another amazing director. Then we have somebody who I am just now realizing for the first time is Canadian. It's James Cameron.
Yeah. Man, James Cameron.
How far? It's a random place in Ontario. How close are we to his home? I can't pronounce that.
Where is it? North?
It's gotta be. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's 4,000 people. It is. Wow, that is north.
Good old Jamesy Cameron.
It's in the middle. It's really in the middle of nowhere. See what that dot is?
Whoa.
That's where it is. Kapuskasing. It's minus 26 right now.
Yeah, Kapuskasing? Yeah.
Kapuskasing? I don't know. It's in the middle. That's really... There's nothing up there. It's actually on the border of Ontario and Quebec, though. up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like that's how far up it is.
Wow.
But James Cameron, absolute, like, just a killer when it
A
comes.
little bit of a show off, you know?
Yeah, he likes to show off. He still looks pretty young too. I mean, he's doing all these new Avatar films. He's like, looks better than he used to. I just saw a clip of him. He looks better.
Yeah.
He looks better than he used to look when he was younger.
And he does all the fun explorations.
Yeah. He's done a lot of really good films.
On the Rolex roster.
Is he?
Yeah, he.
Oh, that's cool.
He's endorsed by Rolex because he does all he did like the diving in the Titanic, and he did a bunch of
Right.
other things, and so they sponsor him.
That's cool. He's done so
Pretty
many.
sweet.
He's done so many heavy hitters.
I mean, every film he
All the
seems to make
Terminator
makes a lot of money.
films. He did all the Terminator films. Like, just, he's got the Avatar films, which was just
Titanic.
insane. Titanic.
He just knows how to make money. Heard he's a dick, but maybe not.
Maybe not. We're not gonna. We don't want to speculate too much. We'll have you on
Yeah, James.
when
you can come hang out.
the new film comes out. He did True Lies. Yeah, he definitely did all the Terminator films. I didn't realize he did everything.
Yep.
Wow,
One of his babies.
a lot of Terminator films.
John Connor. Come with me if you want to live.
He did Rambo.
Oh, he did Rambo?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he did Rambo.
Yeah, it was his screenplay.
Oh, okay.
So just, yeah, absolutely destroying the industry. And then we still have like 2 more Avatar films to go.
Oh, yeah, because what, Way of Water just came out?
Yeah, a couple of years ago now.
That was years ago?
That was 2022.
Oh, wow.
I know. It feels like
feels-
so soon.
It was long ago. Or it doesn't feel that long ago.
I know.
And then they have the Fire one. Fire one's next?
The next one coming out, he's got 3 upcoming films. He's got 3 Avatars coming out still.
Yeah.
Fire and Ash, which comes out at the
Yeah.
end of this year.
Oh, wow.
So we might have a chance to interview him. We'd love to talk to you.
Come hang out, James.
Avatar 4 in 2029. Avatar 5. Avatar 4 is already in post-production.
Yeah, because he filmed part of it. He was filming it while he was filming the other 2,
Yeah.
the last 2. Or not the last 2. The last one and then this upcoming one.
Yeah. And then Avatar 5, 2031, which seems so far away.
But still, to put out that level of filming,
Yeah.
and you know that you're going to make money on it, so
Oh,
the studios
yeah.
they just kind of front loaded it and went, all right, you just go do your thing, James. We'll hang out here. Make sure you're delivering every 2 years. We'll hang out. And that'll be good.
Yeah. Our next one, that was funny. Our next one is Joel Cohen.
Yeah.
The Ballad of the Buster Scruggs.
They didn't just group the Coen brothers together.
No, they didn't.
So funny.
They put them separate.
Well, they are separate directors.
I'm curious, where... I don't...
Is his brother not on the list? Yikes.
No, he's not.
Damn.
He's not. He's not.
So, what's his brother's name? Joel and...
That's a good question.
It's all good if you don't know the answer.
Coen brothers, I don't know.
Yeah.
The Ballad, that's what I'm like, remember.
The
I was
Ballad
trying
of
to,
Buster Scruggs.
I was trying to remember, like, I've definitely seen the film, but I was trying to, like, connect the name to the film. And I was like, oh, no. There we go. Now I know what I'm looking for. Yeah, Coen brothers have, which they do a lot of stuff together, but they've done a lot of crazy films. Like, yeah, he's done the Big Lebowski, which was such a good film.
Yep.
True Grit, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Burning After Reading, A Serious Man, Hail Caesar, Fargo. Just so
Good
many,
list.
so many good films. Like films that you gotta watch. Like absolutely gotta watch.
Impactful cinema.
We have 13. We have Ingmar Bergman.
Yep. Bergman.
Another, yeah. Again, just such a killer when it like he, again, we don't get to appreciate necessarily like what it was like being there to see like Wild Strawberries or Fanny and Alexander, or The Seventh Seal, but you kind of respect it now, and you look back and you go like, those were just killer movies, like just incredible movies.
Visual style, just style overall.
Yeah.
Just such a distinct direction.
It's so interesting, like thinking about the stuff that he would have done now had he still been alive to like put some of this stuff together. But it seems like a bunch of this stuff is actually being adapted into TV series and stuff.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. So like there's a whole bunch of new credits after his death that are like he's a writer of. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see like that kind of carrying on, which I like.
It's great.
I mean, they're doing that with other films and stuff, like The Monkey coming out as well. Like the,
right.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. That looked. Did you see the trailer for that?
I did.
Crazy. Such a good film.
It looks like someone played with their spaghetti in here.
And then we have David Lean.
Okay.
Another great director. Like, what am I? Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah.
Kind of a
Greatest, one of the greatest movies of all. Yeah. The Bridge on the River Kwai. Great Expectations. Dr. Zhivago. Mm-hmm. Passage to India. Lost and Found. Brian's Daughter. Yeah. Lawrence of Arabia is a very good film.
Wicked. One of the best.
Yeah. If you haven't had a chance to see it, definitely go see it.
Very good.
It's not that long of a film, but it's a very, very good film. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the main actors, Peter O'Toole. So if you didn't know that.
Peter
Alec Guinness's Alec Quinn. So definitely go and watch that film. Then we have somebody I feel like did a bad movie recently, but we don't have to talk about that, is Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood's great.
One of the most fun like actors besides just like directors and stuff, but
the squinting. Disturbia? Yeah. Did you do Disturbia? No. Yes?
I'm going to double check.
Clint Eastwood. I know he did Gran Turismo.
He did Gran Torino. So he did like, Yeah, I thought so. He did American Sniper.
Yes, I remember him doing.
I didn't realize he directed that film. That's an insane film.
I remember him talking about the scene where he shoots the kid with the RPG. Yeah. Or he doesn't shoot the kid with the RPG. The kid goes for the RPG. And he has to snipe him. Yes.
Such a deep list of like films that he's directed. Also, he's been an actor in 73 films. Like you gotta. I think he missed on his recent film Juror 2. I didn't like it. I thought it was flat. Did you end up watching it? Or?
No, but it's on my list. I should watch it.
I think you should watch it to be able to critique it, but it's like, it's not great.
Wow, watch me sit down and like it.
But everybody has liked it. That I've seen like people talk about. And I'm like, I don't think it was that good. I think he missed. 10, we have Milos Forman. Again.
What film? What films?
One Flew Over the
Cuckoo's Nest?
Cuckoo's
Nest. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, one of Jack Nicholson's best of all time. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, I thought for a second he did Hannibal. It's like looking at it wrong. The People versus Larry Flint, Hair, Amadeus. That's what I'm thinking of as well. So
Amadeus.
Another really good one. And then as we get into the top 10, we go shot for shot. We're gonna start listing these and just see where people's reactions are to the top 10. So we got 9. We got Peter Jackson.
Okay.
That's fair.
Peter Jackson's great, yeah.
John Huston. Mm-hmm. Billy Wilder. Maybe out of the top 10. Woody Allen.
Yeah, Woody Allen, classic.
Francis Ford Coppola. That's deserved at 5.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Stanley Kubrick at 4.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
I think it's reasonable. Maybe one up.
Alfred Hitchcock at 3.
Okay, well, Alfred Hitchcock.
Where else are you going to put him? 3?
Created so
Also,
much, yeah.
Never won an Oscar,
That's okay.
which didn't need to.
Don't need to when you're so impactful.
Psycho, Vertigo, Rebecca, Rear Window, North by Northwest, like.
What's the
crazy
one with
film.
the ravens or the crows?
Shit. Oh, what is that film? I was gonna say that's Vertigo, but it's not. Oh my god.
I don't know.
Is it North by Northwest?
Maybe
Dial M for Murder. Oh, what a film.
Hitchcock. Dolly zoom.
I would want to see some of these get redone in a different way based on like their original movie
Yeah.
to see how crazy they would be now. I feel like you could have a lot of fun. I feel like it's North by Northwest.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that film
I
that
think
you're
so.
talking about? He's directed 69 films.
When you love it.
Good number. And then we have our 2 main heavy hitters. We have, who do you think it is?
For 2?
Yeah. Who's 2? Who's 1? Who's left?
Okay, well, Spielberg,
Yeah.
Scorsese.
Yeah. Who's 1? Who's 2?
It's probably Scorsese 1, Spielberg 2.
Other way around.
Oh, you know what's so funny? I was
we
going
got
to do that.
Scorsese at 2.
Oh, that's so interesting. I wonder why. Well, I guess because Spielberg was like kind of all I've heard is that he's kind of a monster when he was younger, making like the Indiana Jones films,
Yeah.
making Jaws, making all the E.T.
Yeah.
He was just kind of, he had
Saving
that,
Private Ryan,
Yes.
Jurassic Park,
Yeah, yeah.
Schindler's List.
Everything was a hit. It was
I
just
think-
bam, bam. The guy couldn't miss.
But Scorsese hasn't missed, though, really.
Well. no. Scorsese's great.
Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Mean Streets,
All
Departed,
amazing,
Wolf
all
of Wall
amazing.
Street, Killers of a Flower Moon. Debatable. Missed on
And
that,
then
maybe.
Irishman was good the second time.
Good for the second 3.5 hours. Everybody I know fell asleep during that film. I feel bad. 'Cause I
Irishman?
loved it. Yeah.
No, Irishman the first time I watched it, I fell asleep.
That's crazy.
And then the only
I
time-
watched it in class in university.
and you were like, damn.
I was blown away. It was so good. The first time I've watched it like 4 times.
Professor's lecturing. Saying, wow,
I was sitting in the back of the room with Connor.
watching it.
We were sitting in the back of the room. I can't remember what class we had. It was second year university. We were sitting in the back, watch that movie. It's great.
It's amazing. So much creative work happens in the back of the lecture hall.
I know.
I remember writing a couple scripts while I was sitting in the back of a lecture hall.
That's the fun part. You don't really need to pay attention. Half the
No.
time.
You can always teach yourself.
How do you feel about like this list overall? Do you feel
I
like
think
it's
it's a good
pretty
list.
good?
I think it's a good list. I mean, there's like a lot of names. I understand why it's a big list.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there's a lot. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because every director out there really, really, really brings such a unique viewpoint to the
Yeah.
world and to their world of cinema.
Yeah.
And I understand why all those names are on the list because they're so impactful and they're so incredible as individuals with these visions. But
Yeah.
there's just I feel like there's a lot of other directors that either didn't make the list because of popularity or didn't make the list just because their vision was so different from what's expected of a director
Yeah.
or what I can clearly see is the metric for what is successful because
Yep.
it's mainly awards or impact on the box office and that kind
Yep.
versus directors who just really make it for I wish I could remember the guy's name, but there's one guy who makes D and C movies not because he wants to make D and C movies,
Yeah.
but because his vision and the way that he wants to approach it is in that realm, that
Yep.
B-C films, and he just commits to it, and he loves doing it because that's what he loves, and he does it in his own unique way, and everybody loves him, and he has a cult following because of it. But he's not going to make the list because that's not
Yeah.
the popular opinion, right?
That's a fair point. And I think
Yeah.
that part of that list is really just like, to kind of summarize it, is those heavy accolades that you find. It's like all those people have at least nominations in the big categories of the
Yes.
Golden Globes or the
Yeah.
Oscars, or whether it be now the BAFTAs or the Critics' Choice Awards, or those are where like we're seeing this list accumulate those metrics, and I feel like that's maybe why we're not looking at Nolan being a little bit higher, or some of those guys maybe being just a touch lower.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it really just comes down to like your personal opinion on what you feel is the best director of all time.
Yep.
I feel like the thing is, the top 5 might be hard to debate.
I agree with you.
And I think it's based on, like, if you look at the films that they have done, considering that they've done, their repertoire includes some of the best, if not the best films of all time, as well as 10 to 15 other very, very good films. Like films that would always be in a top 100.
Yeah.
And I think that's why that top 5 is solid.
Right. Well, they're not exclusive.
Yeah.
Like the top films and the top directors should go in hand.
They should, yeah.
If you're seeing certain films appear, there should be a director slot for them.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
yeah.
why? And, well,
Where's the
except
weird
in the case,
crossover? Yeah.
except in the case of like maybe they have a one-off.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that the world worked out perfectly for them for one film.
Yeah.
And so that film would be in the top 100, but then they as a director wouldn't be because they only had one film.
Yeah.
Out of all.
I think there maybe is, like, if we were to go down like a list of 100 of the best films of all time, there's definitely a few films that you look at and you go, yeah, that's all they've ever done.
Yes.
And you'd look at you'd look at the rest of the discography and you'd go,
meh.
It's good. I've definitely watched some of them, but I wouldn't like rewatch some of them.
Right.
And I think like, yeah, you look at these, you go Francis, you go Stanley, like Alfred, just Martin, like, and at least you get to still see some of these guys, which is quite nice as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just that I feel like that top 5. Even if I just look at like the outside looking in, like Woody Allen at 6, I would have a hard time thinking that like he would ever crack that top 5. Like and I would have a hard time thinking that some of the other guys, like, is Peter Jackson going to do another film that like puts him at 6? You know what I mean?
Probably not, but maybe.
That's what I mean. So it's like, okay, does James Cameron come up from 15? Like those people that you look at and you go, okay, where do we stand in X amount of years?
Yeah.
That's usually what the interesting part is as well.
Now, what's your favorite? Who's your favorite? We already know.
I honestly, like, Nolan is up there, but I would more put him in like top 5 very reasonably.
So who's your top one?
I think my top one, based on like the movies that I've enjoyed the most, would be Scorsese.
Okay.
Based on the movies that he's come out with that I will consistently watch and enjoy. I could watch a Scorsese film every single day and not get tired of them. And also not be like overwhelmed by the amount of content either. And I think that's like a nice balance to have, that even though his films are longer, it's less attention than like some of the other films and stuff.
Yeah.
Like sitting down to watch a Nolan film is sitting and watching a film. You can't really passively watch a Nolan film.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's some aspect of that allows for replay value. And I think that there is intention with a lot of the films that like he does do. Like I think Raging Bull, you have to sit and watch. You can't tune it out. You can't just like half watch it. Taxi Driver is a good example. It's kind of a 50-50. Killers of a Flower Moon, you have to sit and watch. But it's close. Like I mean it is there's some that you can just like turn on. Like Goodfellas, I feel like I watched it enough that I could just like turn it on.
Yeah, and some new I'll say some new talent that I'm really impressed by.
Yep.
Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Robert Eggers.
Yep.
Just did Nosferatu.
Yep.
I'm totally Ari Aster. And I'm totally blanking on the girl's name who did Barbie.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the director of Barbie. All incredible. I can see her face. All really interesting directors doing something wonderful in the new media space.
Yeah. It was Greta Gerwig.
Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's done a few good. She did No Strings Attached. That is so funny.
Yeah.
Wow. She's doing the new Snow White movie this year.
Thank God.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a big one.
Snow White will be good.
Do
we know whatever happened after the whole controversy with the lead actress?
For Snow White?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're still using her.
Okay. Well,
I know there was a lot of. I don't know if we want to get it. But again, like this is an interesting one because you look at it, like Greta's very young for like a pretty decent director.
And she also did Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yes.
Or am I thinking of the other one that's kind of like that?
I was looking at the wrong one. No, she did Lady Bird.
Lady Bird.
She did Little Woman.
Little Woman.
That was a good film.
Yeah.
That did really well at TIFF. I remember that being at TIFF. Like very popular. No, I don't see it.
I'm thinking of someone else then.
Which one was it? Sorry.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Who did that?
2019 film was Celine.
Oh yes.
Sciamma. It's a French film.
Yeah. Very lovely.
A little bit of English, but French, Italian, English. Yeah. She's 41, so Greta's 41. Like that's very young to be getting Barbie and now Snow White. And she's gonna have in 2 years. She's gonna have 2 films that are over $1 billion.
Yikes!
In box office, Snow White's gonna do so well in the box.
Snow White will do really well.
We'll talk about that.
As it's done properly.
We'll talk about that not in the Andrew episode, but the episode afterwards.
Yeah,
I want to talk about like truly what we think is going to be very successful this year.
Yep.
Because like a lot of the heavy hitters will be, well, we have Captain America in early February, and then we have like Superman, we have Snow White, we have the Tron movie, we have at the end of the year we have the Avatar film, we have Mission Impossible. We've got a lot of like pretty huge blockbuster films this year. So
this year will be great.
It's going to be a good year, and
always good for content.
Always good for content. We love doing it. We love talking about directors, films. Another recognition. I just want to like go to this massive list of directors. Spike Lee.
Oh, of course.
A great director as well. Very fun, creative vision for all the stuff that he does.
And a very interesting way of moving you through a scene.
Yeah.
That's Spike Lee's specialty.
Yeah, just the Coen brothers. We have Robert Altman. Oh my God, who just passed away?
David Lynch.
David Lynch, as well. Rest in peace, David Lynch. I'm very unfortunate. Just lost him. Amazing. Another completely unforgiving, amazing director that just did a lot of very good films. A lot.
And all his films are trending right now. I was looking at
I hope. The original Dune.
Yeah.
That's true, right? Yeah, because he did the original Dune.
And that and what's the other one that...
I just go down the list if you want.
Perfect Blue?
Blue Velvet?
Blue Velvet, yeah.
Blue Velvet. The Elephant Man, Lost Highway. Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
He did all the Twin Peaks stuff. Northwest Passage, Rabbits, Lucky. Oh, just so many good films.
Yeah, the Lynchster. Yeah.
Yeah, so many good films. Yeah, that's it's a good repertoire, but it's gone too soon.
Yeah, surprising.
Gone too soon. But yeah, so many great directors, and soon us one day. Well, you're already directing, but I mean, Hey, the Real Talk podcast will have a movie one day.
We will. We'll have some comic book movies.
That's true. We'll have comic book signings and movies and stuff. That would be fun. I would enjoy that.
That would be fun.
That would be hard to make. The comic books would be hard to make.
Yeah, no. Well, if you have a few interesting creatives.
CG and stuff would be difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's all CG pretty much.
That's where you bait somebody in who's like a CG wizard.
Yeah.
You say, hey, if you do this on evenings and weekends, we could be done in 3 years.
Yeah.
For free.
For the experience.
As long as you make a good pitch package, you can get anything sold.
Yeah, that's fair.
You just got to keep climbing the totem pole until you get to the spot that can fund it.
There you go. Netflix, let's go.
Hey, yo, Netflix.
I feel like it would have to be like some secondary company, but it would be like companies that would fund that would be like Warner Brothers or something would want to do like comic stuff.
You just have to prove the market on it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's the hardest thing with making any film is just proving that if you're going to spend $5 million, we'll say on the low end, if you're going to spend $5 million, are you going to make 10, 15 million?
Yeah.
Then it's viable. Then a studio is interested.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing it independently, $5 million, you can get away with making 7.5 to 10 million. But really, you can make any film. You just have to prove that it's worth investing in.
Absolutely.
At a level. Or it's worth investing in to not make money. Because maybe the whole thing that you need for this new incredible director is you need a film that gets them out onto the market that does really well for like $1 million, and then you go to the studios and you go, hey, now this guy needs a $10 million film because we've done the testing, we've proven him or her, and now they're ready to go and they're ready to show the world what they're really made of.
Yeah,
it's kind of like what A24 is doing.
Yeah,
they're really researching their directors, making sure that anything they fund, anything they get funded, is interesting, active, and progressing not just their brand image, but progressing all these directors forward. So good for them.
Love that. Yeah. Well, I think that beautifully sums up the our episode today.
Watch more films.
Watch more films. If you haven't seen, go down and do your research and look at that like list of the 25 best directors of all time.
Yes.
It's the IMDb list. It's pretty easy. I'll link it in the YouTube and the notes, the show notes and stuff. But yeah, let us know in the comments as well what your favorite director is. And that is us from the Real Talk podcast signing out from Sander
and Nason. See you guys later. Have a great rest of your day, and watch more movies.
Watch more movies that you haven't already seen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. See you guys later.